In the year 2157, Dr. Elena Reyes steps onto the stage at the Global Science Summit, her hands trembling not from nervousness, but from 3 days without sleep. The holographic display behind her flickers to life, revealing schematics that seem to bend and twist against the laws of reality themselves. Dark circles frame her intense eyes, a testament to the 72 hours spent refining equations that her colleagues insisted couldn't exist. "Ladies and gentlemen," she begins, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, "I present to you the paradox engine." The murmuring audience falls silent. Hundreds of the world's leading physicists lean forward as Elena manipulates the hologram, expanding a three-dimensional matrix of equations that appear to fold back on themselves in impossible ways. This propulsion system allows a vessel to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, effectively bypassing the universal speed limit. We're not breaking the laws of physics. We're reinterpreting them. She's barely finished her opening statement when the first objection comes. "Impossible," shouts Dr. Hiroshi Yamamoto, rising to his feet. The most respected quantum physicist in the room points an accusatory finger at her display. "You're suggesting we can simply ignore causality." Ridiculous. The crowd turns against her with startling speed. Decades of established physics become a weapon wielded to destroy her life's work. Some laugh openly. Others storm out, muttering about wasted conference time. A few stay silent, their expressions mixing pity with contempt. Only Captain Jerry Kwan, his military uniform standing out among the academic attire, remains seated as others disperse. The scared veteran of the Mars colonial wars watches her with calculated interest, steel-gray eyes evaluating her with military precision. When the hall has nearly emptied, he approaches the stage. "They laughed at Einstein too," he says without introduction. "I have resources. Off the books." 3 months later, in an abandoned super collider facility beneath the Atacama Desert, Elena watches as construction robots build what cannot exist. The prototype vessel, which Kwan insistently names Improbability, despite her objections, takes shape amid equipment salvaged from decommissioned space programs. The military has an entire budget line for theoretical applications, Kwan explains as they observe from a reinforced observation booth. No oversight, no questions. Until it fails, Elena counters, then there will be plenty of questions. Kwan's scared face almost forms a smile. Then let's not fail. But reality itself seems to resist their efforts. The first warning comes when a technician reports seeing his own ghost working alongside him, tightening bolts that hadn't yet been installed. Then tools begin vanishing, only to reappear days later embedded in solid metal. A security guard ages 7 years overnight before reverting to normal the next morning. In the 4th month of construction, Engineer Devar drops his tablet as a wrench beside him phases in and out of existence, appearing and disappearing like a stuttering hologram. The universe is rejecting the paradox, Elena whispers to Kwan as they witness the phenomenon. Like antibodies attacking an infection. Kwan's expression hardens as he watches the quantum fluctuations rippling across the construction bay. Reports from his security team document increasing anomalies. Time flowing at different rates in different sections of the facility. Spontaneous particle generation. Inexplicable gravitational fluctuations that send objects floating upward before crashing down again. The universe better prepare for one hell of a fever, he says, because we're not stopping. As Elena returns to her equations, attempting to compensate for the universe's rejection response, a strange thought occurs to her. What if the cosmos isn't fighting against her invention? What if, instead, it's reaching out to embrace something that should have existed all along? She dismisses the thought as fanciful, a product of exhaustion and stress. Yet that night, she dreams of stars rearranging themselves, creating pathways that have always existed, but that no one had ever seen before. The Improbability's quantum core activates for the first testing phase, sending a ripple of mathematical impossibility across the cosmos. Alina watches the readings with a mixture of triumph and trepidation as the vessel's hull shimmers with quantum uncertainty, existing in multiple states simultaneously. Power level stable, she reports, almost disbelieving her own readings. Quantum field integrity at 94% and holding. Captain Kwan's normally stoic expression breaks into a rare smile. It works. It actually works. 6 hours later, their celebration ends abruptly when every electronic device on Earth simultaneously broadcasts the same message in 4,317 different languages. CES co-instruction. IMEDA Heloi. The voice resonates with harmonic tones impossible for human vocal cords to produce. Screens across the planet display the same message, regardless of whether they're connected to any network. Even the ancient radio in Kwan's private quarters, a collector's item from the previous century, crackles to life with the warning. Within 24 hours, the skies above every major city darken with ships that seem to fold space around themselves. Humanity faces its first confirmed alien contact in the worst possible way, through fear. The Galactic Consortium, a federation of 17 species who've mastered the art of looking down on lesser civilizations, dispatches their diplomat to the hastily assembled Earth Defense Council. High Observer Xal Toreth doesn't walk into the United Nations chamber. It unfolds into existence, a being of crystalline structures housing swirling, intelligent gases in perpetual motion. It towers 3 meters tall, refracting light in hypnotic patterns. When it speaks, the sound emerges from everywhere at once. Your species has existed in our records for centuries. It announces as horrified world leaders watch footage of human history recorded by hidden consortium observers, quarantined but permitted to develop. Until now. Its crystalline form pulses with angry light as it approaches the central podium. The paradox engine violates the fundamental law of cosmic uniformity. It cannot exist. The information shock paralyzes Earth's leadership, secret surveillance, advanced civilizations, cosmic laws humans have never heard of. President Ashib of the African Union recovers first. What precisely is your objection to our research? Xal Toreth's gases swirl faster, according to our understanding of physics, which has remained unchallenged for millennia. Your engine cannot exist without destabilizing reality itself. The consortium's offer is seductively simple. Destroy all research on the paradox engine, and in exchange, receive membership in the galactic community and access to standardized FTL technology that doesn't threaten the fabric of existence. President Akid leans toward acceptance, as does Premier Wong of the Pacific Alliance. But Alina, smuggled into the meeting by Kwan's security credentials, steps forward despite protocol. You're not worried about physics, she challenges, watching how the gases in Xal Toreth's crystalline body swirl faster. You're worried about control. Security personnel move to remove her, but Kwan intervenes. Let her speak. She built the damn thing. Later, in a private confrontation that Kwan arranges against all protocols, Alina faces Xal Toreth alone. The aliens form contracts to human size as it studies her, with sensory apparatus she can't comprehend. Your mathematics is unsettling, Xal Toreth admits after a long silence. 17 species, millions of years of combined science, and none dared to question what you challenged so casually. Because you didn't let them, Alina responds, the realization dawning. You've been controlling scientific development across the galaxy, haven't you? The crystalline being's colors shift to deep indigo. We maintain cosmic stability. You maintain your power, Alina counters. Our engine doesn't violate physical laws. It just violates your interpretation of them. Xal Toreth's form expands slightly, looming over her. Dangerous interpretations lead to dangerous discoveries. As the alien departs, Alina realizes the truth that will change humanity's destiny. The aliens aren't enforcing laws of physics. They're enforcing limitations they've never dared to question. The paradox engine isn't just a new technology. It's a revolution against a galactic order built on controlled knowledge. and the consortium is terrified of what humans might discover if allowed to continue. Surrender the Paradox engine research within 12 hours, or we will retrieve it ourselves. The consortium's ultimatum echoes through emergency broadcast systems worldwide, while Elena and Quan race through the abandoned maintenance tunnels beneath the Pacific Ocean floor. Their footsteps echo on metal grating as alarms blare in the distance. They've already won. Dr. Maya Santos, Elena's former mentor and reluctant ally, argues as they descend to the underwater construction facility via a maintenance shaft. Her breath comes in ragged gasps, unaccustomed to the physical exertion. The Security Council voted to comply 90 minutes ago. Democracy's great until it votes for extinction. Quan replies, the military hardness in his voice softened by the desperation of their situation. He inputs security codes at a massive pressure door. Humanity hands over the most revolutionary technology we've ever created. And what do we get? Membership in a club that decides what we're allowed to know. The door hisses open, revealing the cavernous underwater bay where the improbability hulks in its cradle. Beautiful and wrong. Its hull curves defying conventional geometry. The skeleton crew of 17 already waits. Engineers who risked careers, scientists labeled as crackpots, and 3 of Quan's most loyal soldiers who understand they'll never see Earth again. We're committing treason, Elena tells them, offering one last chance to walk away. The bay's cold lighting casts harsh shadows across faces resolute with purpose. No one moves. Technically, Engineer Devar says, his hand steady despite the fear in his eyes, we're committing species-level disobedience. Treason implies we recognize their authority. At 23 minutes to midnight, as consortium drones begin cataloging physics labs across the planet, final preparations accelerate. The improbability systems remain partially incomplete. Life support functions at minimal capacity. Navigation systems jury-rigged. The quantum cord itself stable but untested at full power. If we die, pilot Sarah Chen says as she initializes flight systems, at least we die free. Lieutenant Park, weapons specialist with combat experience from the Mars conflicts, distributes the few weapons they manage to smuggle aboard. We won't die, she states with military certainty. We'll make them regret ever finding Earth. At 6 minutes to midnight, the underwater bay doors begin their automated opening sequence. The improbability, its systems humming with quantum possibility, rises through 2 miles of Pacific Ocean without generating a single bubble. Reality warps around it, causality bending like light through water. Elena stands at the quantum core control station, watching readouts no human has ever interpreted before. Paradox field stable, she reports. We're existing in, I think, 17 different states simultaneously. Does that mean we're 17 times harder to hit? Quan asks from the command chair. Elena's laugh holds a hysterical edge. I have absolutely no idea. The moment it breaks the surface, alarms scream across the consortium fleet. 7 warships converge, weapons powering up to eliminate the impossible human vessel. Energies unknown to Earth science cascade across targeting arrays designed to eliminate threats before they fully materialize. Now, Dr. Reyes, Quan orders, his knuckles white as he grips the command chair. Before they, Elena activates the Paradox engine at full power. The universe holds its breath. Then shatters. The improbability fractures into 37 simultaneous versions of itself, each occupying a slightly different position in space-time. Consortium weapons fire and miss, passing through spaces where the ship both is and isn't. Probability collapses as the vessel accelerates, leaving afterimages across the visual spectrum. What the hell is happening to us? Screams Chief Engineer Devar as his hand briefly phases through solid metal before resolving back into matter. They escape Earth's solar system in 8.3 seconds, leaving behind confused aliens and a humanity now aware of its precarious position in a controlled galaxy. Aboard the ship, reality struggles to reassert itself. Displays show impossible readings. They exist everywhere and nowhere, traveling faster than light, while simultaneously standing still. The crew discovers the terrifying side effect no equations predicted. Their consciousness is fracturing just like the vessel. Pilot Sarah Chen reports making course corrections before proximity alarms sound. Engineer Rodriguez finds repairs completed by his own hands, though he has no memory of performing them. It's affecting us, Alina realizes as she wakes from a dream of navigating through a cosmic storm, only to find she'd plotted a course through an actual spatial anomaly while sleepwalking. We're becoming quantum observers inside a quantum system. Quan, ever practical even as he experiences memories of futures not yet lived, simply asks, "Can you control it?" Alina's laugh holds a hint of madness as she watches her own hands flicker between states of existence. "Captain, I'm not sure I can even define control anymore. But I think we're becoming something the consortium never imagined possible." Behind them, across the impossible distance already traveled, consortium pursuit ships power up their own experimental drives, desperately trying to catch what should never have escaped. 3 weeks of running. 3 weeks of consortium pursuit ships always one step behind. 3 weeks of reality fracturing around them, as the crew's quantum-affected minds begin changing the very fabric of the ship. Navigator Lai wakes screaming, for the 4th time that week, from dreams where stars speak in mathematical equations. When she plots their next course, the computer reads her brainwaves directly, bypassing the interface entirely. No one mentions how the nav console has become partially biological, resembling neural tissue. "I'm navigating through possibilities rather than actual space," she explains to Alina as they examine star charts that shift configurations whenever no one is directly observing them. "I can see futures branching out, some where we escape, others where..." Her voice trails off. The improbability has traveled farther than any human vessel, deeper into the galactic arm, maintaining its quantum state that confounds consortium tracking systems. Mechanical systems have begun self-repairing in ways that defy conventional engineering. Walls occasionally become permeable when someone strongly wishes to pass through. Alina spends her waking hours, which sometimes overlap with her sleeping ones, trying to develop a unifying theory that explains their new existence. The paradox engine works better than she ever imagined, but understanding how it works grows more elusive by the day. "We're experiencing reality closer to its true nature," she tells the increasingly anxious crew during their daily briefing. "Conventional physics is just simplified consensus reality." "Tell that to my coffee," mutters Engineer Rodriguez, watching his drink cycle through solid, liquid, and gaseous states before settling back into something drinkable. On the 23rd day, the sensors detect nothing. Absolute nothing. A perfect line in space where everything simply stops. "That can't be right," Alina mutters, recalibrating instruments. But there it is, a literal boundary in space, as artificial as a painted line on asphalt, stretching perpendicular to their course as far as sensors can detect in either direction. "Is it a consortium weapon?" Quan asks, ordering a full stop 2 kilometers from the inexplicable phenomenon. Alina studies the readings with growing astonishment. "No, it's like reality itself has been partitioned. On this side, physics as we understand it. On the other," she gestures at readings that shift faster than the display can render them. "Something else entirely." Lieutenant Park, weapons specialist, and the most stable of Quan's soldiers, suddenly collapses in convulsions. "They're coming," she gasps between seizures, her eyes rolling back. "They found us through me." On the view screen, Xaltoreth's flagship materializes, more advanced than anything in the main consortium fleet, with technology that seems almost magical in its complexity. The crystalline vessel shimmers with energies that hurt the human eye to observe directly. The communication, when it comes, is not a demand but a plea. Xaltoreth's crystalline form has changed, facets breaking and reforming in patterns that suggest extreme distress. "You must not cross the boundary," It insists, its harmonic voice vibrating through the ship's systems, rather than the communication array. You cannot comprehend what you would unleash. Through tense negotiations, as the improbability hovers meters from the inexplicable cosmic dividing line, Zaltoreth reveals the terrible truth. The consortium never invented FTL travel. They discovered this boundary thousands of years ago and have been carefully maintaining the illusion of a stable, logical universe ever since. Beyond lies the undetermined. Zaltoreth explains, its voice resonating with what Alina recognizes as genuine fear. Where thought shapes matter directly. Where consciousness rewrites reality as easily as you might exhale. Alina finally understands why her paradox engine terrified them so completely. It wasn't just a violation of accepted physics. It was the first human technology to touch the fundamental truth of a universe more malleable than anyone dared believe. We'll disintegrate if we cross, warns Quan, studying sensor readings that predict molecular breakdown upon contact with the boundary. But Alina, whose genius now operates partly in quantum superposition, shakes her head. No, our ship already exists in multiple states simultaneously. We're already halfway across in a sense. She laughs suddenly, the sound tinged with revelation. Don't you see? Humans are uniquely suited for this. Our minds already contain contradictions. We believe opposing things simultaneously every day. We're irrational by nature. On the view screen, Zaltoreth makes one final appeal, its crystalline structure shifting to deep indigo hues. Cross that line, and you leave behind everything that defines you as human. Quan looks at his crew, scientists, soldiers, and engineers now transformed by their quantum existence into something not quite human but undeniably more. The vote is unanimous. That, Quan tells the alien as he orders full power to the paradox engine, is precisely what humans have always done best. The improbability surges forward, its quantum field intensifying as it approaches the boundary between known physics and something else entirely, the true frontier that humanity was born to cross. The boundary ripples like disturbed water as the improbability passes through. Reality tears open, not with violence, but with the gentle surrender of illusion falling away. Light bends around them in impossible colors that human eyes were never designed to perceive. Inside the ship, Technician Jackson screams as his hand dissolves into pure mathematical equations before reforming. Chief Engineer Devar watches in horror as the metal bulkhead flows like liquid, then solidifies into something organic and pulsing. The ship itself groans, not through speakers but directly into their minds. It's alive, Alina whispers, touching the console that now feels warm like skin. We're alive with it. They have entered a realm where thought directly shapes reality. The improbability transforms in response to their collective unconscious, corridors lengthening when someone feels claustrophobic, lights dimming to match emotional states, walls becoming transparent when someone wonders what lies beyond them. Everyone, control your thoughts, Quan orders, his military discipline creating a bubble of stability amid chaos. Focus on keeping our ship intact. Dr. Santos discovers that when she idly thinks about needing coffee, a cup materializes beside her, the liquid inside shifting between states as her surprise battles with her desire. Engineer Rodriguez tries to repair a fluctuating power conduit, only to find the tools in his hands transforming according to what he believes would work best. Find me something to shoot at, Quan orders Lieutenant Park, a joke that manifests 6 impossible targets on the weapons display before she banishes them with a thought. I don't think conventional weapons mean anything here, sir, she reports, watching her sidearm transform into something that looks more like a crystallized thought than a gun. 3 days into their journey through this realm, they encounter the first native entities, beings of pure concept that exist as fundamental ideas rather than physical forms. They approach the ship not as separate beings, but as patterns of mathematical meaning that interpenetrate reality itself. The crew names them axioms, after mathematician Alina compares them to the foundational principles of geometry. The communication is direct mind-to-mind, overwhelming in its complexity. You, R. Niu. Pattern. The concepts impressed directly into their consciousness, the words inadequate translations of pure conceptual meaning. Visitors. Rare. Through a series of exchanges that feel like downloading encyclopedias directly into their brains, the humans learn the truth. The axioms watch the formation of the physical universe as a crystallization of infinite possibility into fixed laws. They remember when reality solidified from quantum foam into predictable particles. Consortium came. Before, the axioms share, showing images of ancient astronauts from the founding species discovering the boundary. Fierd. Freedom. Wild. Wall. Elena understands with sudden, perfect clarity. The consortium's founders discovered this fluid realm accidentally but feared its implications. A reality responsive to consciousness meant individuals could reshape existence itself. Rather than embrace this power, they constructed the boundary and established a rigid system of physics, then carefully maintained the illusion that their limited version of reality was all that existed. For millennia, Elena explains to the crew, they've been selectively admitting species who would accept their limitations without question. Those who might challenge their paradigm were kept ignorant or destroyed. But revelation comes with danger. As Engineer Rodriguez dwells on his childhood fear of being buried alive, the ship's corridor begins to contract. When Dr. Santos worries about running out of air, the oxygen levels actually drop. Most terrifying, Security Officer Chen's nightmare about being consumed by the ship manifests as the floor literally attempting to absorb her body. Our thoughts are weapons here, Quan realizes as they pull Chen from the hungry metal flesh floor. Everyone to the mess hall. Now, we need mental discipline. Elena, whose mind has been partially quantum since activating the paradox engine, focuses her consciousness into a stabilizing pattern. We need mental discipline, she tells the panicking crew. Think of it like lucid dreaming. You control what happens, but only if you remain aware you're doing it. They develop emergency protocols, meditation techniques, buddy systems to monitor each other's emotional states, and enforced sleep cycles to prevent exhausted minds from manifesting dangerous nightmares. Slowly, they begin to adapt to thought space, learning to consciously direct their impact on reality, rather than unconsciously reshape it. That night, as the crew sleeps fitfully in this realm of unbound possibility, Elena wanders the shifting corridors of the living ship. In the engine room, now a pulsing chamber of crystallized thought rather than machinery, she encounters something else. A presence neither human nor axiom, watching them with ancient, patient interest. Bridge. Worlds. It communicates, its conceptual existence vastly more complex than even the axioms. Long. Waiting. For. Species. Like. Yours. What are you? Elena asks the entity that exists as a pattern of possibility rather than a being. The answer comes not in words but in understanding. This entity is what came before the universe itself, a remnant of pre-reality that watched the birth of cosmic order with the same curiosity that Elena now watches thought space. Humans. Contain. Contradiction, it explains. Rationale. Errativional. Simultaneously. Perfect. For. What comes? What comes? Elena asks, a chill running through her despite the impossibility of temperature in a realm of pure thought. The entity's response manifests as a vision of boundaries falling, realities merging, and consciousness itself evolving beyond anything Elena can comprehend. The consortium was right to be afraid, she whispers to herself as the entity fades back into the background patterns of thought space. But for all the wrong reasons. I need you to imagine a star, Elena tells Rodriguez, whose engineering mind grasps physical concepts most concretely. They stand in what was once the ship's observation deck, now a chamber of shifting possibility, where the walls display whatever the observers wish to see. Rodriguez closes his eyes, concentrates, and a miniature sun blazes into existence between his cupped hands. Now contain its fusion reaction, Elena instructs. Rodriguez's brow furrows with concentration. The star's wild energies stabilize, settling into a perfect sphere of controlled nuclear fusion. A star in miniature that shouldn't be possible yet exists because he believes it can. 6 weeks in thought space have transformed the crew. Through daily practice sessions, they've learned to manipulate reality through focused consciousness, creating matter, energy, even localized pockets of conventional physics within the fluid realm. The improbability has evolved too, becoming a semi-sentient extension of their collective will rather than a vessel that carries them. "We could reshape entire planets with this," Dr. Santos exclaims during a practice session, where she creates a self-sustaining ecosystem inside a sphere of thought. Terraform Mars in days instead of centuries. Pilot Chen demonstrates her mastery by manifesting navigational pathways through thought space, probability currents that connect conceptual destinations far more efficiently than spatial coordinates ever could. "I'm not flying the ship anymore," she explains to the others. "I'm thinking it to where we want to go." Quan, ever the pragmatist, even as he masters the art of manifesting working weapons from pure concept, remains cautious. Power like this will terrify Earth as much as it does the consortium. His words prove prophetic when alarm consciousness. They no longer have physical alarms, ripples through the ship's awareness. At the boundary they crossed weeks earlier, something impossible appears, a consortium battle fleet pushing through the barrier. "They couldn't," Elena whispers, watching in horror as 17 vessels, each surrounded by a bubble of rigid conventional physics, enter thought space. They've reverse-engineered aspects of the paradox engine. Unlike the humans, who have adapted organically to thought space's fluid nature, the consortium ships maintain conventional reality around them like environmental suits in a toxic atmosphere. Their weapons, conventional physics weapons, tear holes in the fabric of thought space itself. Dangerous, the axioms communicate, their concept forms swirling around the improbability in patterns of mathematical distress. Theta's ICL. Weapons. Harm. Foundations. The pursuit begins across a realm where distance is meaningless and navigation occurs through conceptual association rather than spatial coordinates. The improbability flees, the crew instinctively reshaping reality around them to confuse pursuers, manifesting duplicate vessels, creating regions where conventional physics behaves unpredictably, even reversing causality so their ship appears to arrive before it departs. They're converting our thought landscapes into conventional space, Elena realizes, watching the consortium vessels force rigid physics onto the fluid realm. They're erasing possibilities. During a brief respite hidden within a fold of conceptual space that Lieutenant Park creates by imagining a perfect hiding place, they discover something remarkable. Teltorath attempts direct mental communication, thought-to-thought contact that should allow it to control or influence the humans. The alien consciousness slams into Park's mind with overwhelming force, yet slides off like water from oil. The same happens when it tries to influence the others. The human minds resist assimilation. Conceptual immunity, the axioms explain, their presence resonating with something like excitement. Rare quality. 1 in trillion species. Human minds, it turns out, possess natural resistance to external thought manipulation. The same contradictory, paradoxical nature that allows humans to hold opposing ideas simultaneously makes their identities unusually stable in thought space. It's why the consortium fears us, Elena realizes, watching Staltoreth's frustrated attempts to breach their mental integrity. Most species lose themselves here, their thoughts reshaped by stronger minds. But humans, we're too damn stubborn to be told what to think. Quan finishes with grim satisfaction. The chase intensifies, reality warping around them as the improbability pushes deeper into thought space than even the axioms typically venture. The consortium fleet, commanded by Xal-Toreth itself, pursues relentlessly, their reality bubbles leaving damaging wakes of fixed physics behind them. They're destroying thought space to catch us, Alina says, watching regions of fluid possibility crystallize into rigid patterns. They'd rather burn this realm down than let us master it. Can we fight back? Quan asks, his military mind already calculating tactical possibilities. Alina shakes her head. Not directly. If we use the same methods, trying to impose our reality on theirs, we become exactly what they fear. Instead, they use their growing mastery of thought space to navigate through increasingly abstract conceptual territories, where the rigid physics of the consortium vessels struggle to translate. They travel through realms of pure mathematics, through emotional landscapes, through domains of potential rather than actuality, until suddenly, unexpectedly, they hit a wall, not physical, not even conceptual, but something else entirely, a boundary that makes the first one seem trivial by comparison. A wall of absolute nothing that radiates such fundamental wrongness that even the ancient axioms recoil from it. Beyond. No. Return. The axioms warn as the consortium fleet corners them against this final barrier. Void. Before. Thought. On the view screen, now more a window of perception than technology, Xal-Toreth's flagship positions itself to cut off escape. The surrounding vessels form a hemisphere of conventional physics, trapping the improbability against the void boundary. You see now. Xal-Toreth's voice resonates through their minds. There are limits even to thought space. Surrender your vessel. Accept our reality. It is the only way forward. But Alina, studying the void wall with the quantum perception she's developed, sees what the consortium fears even more than human potential. What lies beyond that final boundary might be the greatest revelation of all. Options. Quan demands as consortium weapons lock onto their position. The void boundary pulses behind them, a wall of absolute nothing that even thought cannot penetrate. Alina studies the non-space beyond the boundary, her consciousness extended through the ship's sensors that have become extensions of her own perception. It's not empty, she realizes with sudden clarity. It's pure potential, before thought, before matter. Xal-Toreth's voice resonates through their minds. Surrender the vessel. Return to conventional physics. We offer amnesty. Behind the words lies fear, not of the humans, but of what lies beyond that final boundary. They won't follow us there, Alina whispers to Quan. Even they aren't that desperate. The captain's face hardens as he polls the crew with a thought. 17 minds unified in desperate courage answer him. All hands, prepare for boundary transition. No. Possible. Return. The axioms warn, their concept forms already retreating from the ship's vicinity. The improbability accelerates toward the boundary as consortium weapons tear reality apart around them. The void reaches out, hungry, ancient, patient, and swallows them whole. Inside the boundary, they cease to exist, yet somehow remain conscious. Individual identities dissolve as the crew experiences neither thought nor matter but raw, unfiltered potential. Every possible version of themselves exists simultaneously, stretched across infinite outcomes. Alina perceives the universe's greatest secret. Before reality, before natural laws, there was only infinite possibility. Physics itself is merely the most stable pattern that emerged, reinforced by observation over billions of years. They experience eternity in an instant, then suddenly, violently, reform. The improbability erupts back into conventional space, but in a galaxy so distant that none of the star patterns match any in Earth's astronomical database. The transition has fundamentally transformed them. Though physically human again, the crew now perceives reality as a thin veneer over churning quantum possibility. They see the malleable foundations beneath solid matter, the thought patterns that maintain physical laws through collective belief. The paradox engine wasn't creating a new state, Alina explains as they assess their changed vessel. It was revealing what's always been there, reality's true nature. The journey home takes 4 months of subjective time as they learn to navigate with their new awareness. The improbability no longer needs the engine to fold space. The crew's consciousness does it naturally, perceiving shortcuts through reality's underlying structure. They arrive in Earth orbit 3 years after their departure, though they've aged only 10 months. They find humanity transformed, but not as they expected. The consortium, fearing what else humans might discover, attempted to restrict Earth's development through technology embargoes and cultural manipulation. This backfired spectacularly. Human ingenuity, presented with alien technology to reverse engineer and a clear external threat, accelerated development beyond all prediction. "We united," explains Admiral Zhang, Quan's former commanding officer, now head of Earth's defense coalition. "Nothing brings humans together like someone telling us what we can't do." Earth stands as an independent power, building its own unique technologies that blend conventional science with intuitive leaps the consortium deems impossible. Ships based on partial redesigns of the Paradox engine patrol the solar system. Humanity's first extrasolar colonies are already established. When Alina presents her findings to Earth's unified scientific council, reality as consensus, physics as collective agreement, the revelation doesn't shock them as she expected. Human scientists, working under consortium restrictions, had already begun theorizing similar models. They maintained power not through superior technology, Alina tells the packed auditorium of humanity's brightest minds, but by controlling what other species believed was possible. Dr. Hiroshi Yamamoto, the physicist who had most vocally ridiculed her work years earlier, approaches her after the presentation, his face solemn. "I was wrong," he admits simply, "but also right to question you." That tension, between acceptance and skepticism, might be humanity's greatest strength. As Alina looks out at a transformed Earth, where the rigid boundaries between science and philosophy, matter and mind have begun to blur, she understands what the entity in thought space meant. Humans were made for this, to stand at the crossroads of contradiction, comfortable with uncertainty in a way the consortium could never comprehend. 5 years after the improbability's return, humanity stands transformed. On the observation deck of the Paradigm, Earth's first purpose-built boundary ship, Alina watches her theories reshape civilization. "Ready for the crossing?" Director Reyes asks Captain Amara Okafor, her dark eyes gleaming with the subtle quantum awareness all boundary pilots now possess. The Boundary Research Institute, housed in a sprawling complex where the laws of physics visibly flex and shift, has become humanity's most prestigious scientific organization. Under Alina's leadership, a new generation of physicists has developed a unified theory integrating conventional science with thought-space principles. The Gen delegation has arrived, Okafor informs her, referring to the insectoid species that recently defected from the consortium. They're eager to experience unfiltered thought space. Across the solar system, academies teach consciousness calibration alongside mathematics. New human vessels, equipped with refined paradox engines, regularly traverse the boundary. Most remarkable are the colonies themselves, settlements existing simultaneously in conventional space and thought space, where architecture responds to inhabitants' needs and terraforming occurs through directed consciousness. Alina studies the stars through the viewport as the Paradigm prepares for transition. Her most significant discovery came 3 years after returning to Earth. The boundaries themselves are artificial constructs, created by an even older civilization that feared the mixing of different reality paradigms. "Begin removal sequence," she orders as they approach a carefully selected section of the boundary. The ship extends conceptual manipulators, tools that exist as much in thought as in matter, and begins unraveling the ancient barrier structure. This is humanity's most ambitious project, the controlled integration of thought space and conventional space. Small breaches have already proven successful, creating regions where the best aspects of both realms coexist. "Breach stable," reports the quantum technician, her mind directly interfaced with the ship's systems. Flow rates nominal. Through the viewport, Elena watches reality itself blend, physical laws gently merging with thought responsiveness in a cascade of possibilities that would have terrified her before experiencing the void beyond all boundaries. The consortium, once unified in opposing human expansion, has fractured. Many species, inspired by Earth's example, have embraced the new physics. Others have retreated into artificial enclaves of rigid reality, unable to accept a universe not bound by unchanging laws. Most surprising of all is Sol-Toreth. The crystalline being that once threatened humanity now serves as ambassador between realities. After a near-disastrous pursuit into the void beyond thought space, Sol-Toreth emerged transformed, its consciousness expanded beyond consortium limitations. Your species was right, it told Elena during their historic reconciliation. The greatest danger was never what lies beyond the boundaries, but our fear of it. As the boundary breach stabilizes, Captain Quan joins Elena on the observation deck. Age has weathered his face, but his eyes hold the same determination that drove him to fund her impossible engine years ago. "Did you ever imagine this is where we'd end up?" he asks, watching starred shift patterns in response to the collective dreams of colonists on a nearby thought space settlement. Elena shakes her head. "I just wanted to move faster than light. I never planned to rewrite reality. That's always been humanity's gift," Quan replies. "We never know when to stop." Below them, the first group of Gen explorers experiences unfiltered thought space. Unlike humans, who maintain individual identity through conceptual immunity, the insectoid species briefly merges into a group consciousness before separating again, adding another approach to reality manipulation to humanity's growing understanding. In the years since the improbability's journey, humans have discovered they weren't uniquely suited to this revolution because they were smarter or stronger than other species. Their advantage lay in cognitive patterns that naturally embrace paradox and contradiction. Minds comfortable with uncertainty in ways rigid consortium thinking never permitted. As night falls on the colony below, the thoughts of sleeping humans manifest as new constellations in the sky, physical representations of dreams becoming reality in a universe now recognized as the product of consciousness itself. The impossible vessel didn't challenge cosmic norms. Elena reflects, watching reality reshape itself according to collective imagination. It revealed that the norms themselves were the true impossibility in a universe of infinite potential. Quan's laugh holds the satisfaction of a soldier who fought the right war. Turns out the laws of physics were more like guidelines anyway. Beyond the viewport, as the boundary continues its controlled dissolution, new possibilities unfold across reality. Humanity's greatest adventure only just beginning. The end.